So there's a lot of new projects and developments going on with you guys. But for those that maybe are not from Germany, and like myself are foreign, could you maybe just paint the picture of what's happening with hydrogen in terms of the landscape of Germany currently today, and what changes you're starting to notice?
Yeah, we are already since 2008 contracted by the Ministry of Transport to manage the National Innovation Program, Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technology, for the Ministry of Transport and the German government. We had a first 10-year, quite successful 10-year time frame of the program. It was over 700 million euros invested into R&D projects, actually. And we quite successfully now started our second phase since 2 years. So we got a second 10-year time frame now for the NIP. And besides R&D, we now added the column so-called market activation, where we really start investment funding for operators. So you can get investment subsidies for buses, for cars, for refueling stations, and that started quite successful. But we also had some lessons learned, and that's why I'm now talking about regions.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about that, because you touched on a good opportunity. So what is the history of an NIP funding program? Like, who funds that, and operators have access to it? But if you can speak a little bit about the history and why this new opportunity? Like, what lessons have you learned from the original NIP funding?
Yeah, so as I said, we started this market activation, and we had quite focused calls on, you can now apply for funding for hydrogen cars in fleets, for example, for buses. So those were like very singular calls. And we got the feedback out of the regional context that they are not just thinking of cars and buses and are able to wait like another year for the next call. So they really asked us, can we start with an integrated approach and do that like from a integrated point of view, and have the whole story, the battery is fine. And have the whole value chain funded at once. And that's how we came up with this HyLand approach. To really enable regions not to shoot for singular funding calls, but really come up with an integrated concept and ask or apply for funding for like the whole value chain and the whole story.
I would imagine that when the technology is adopted on more of a siloed basis in terms of regional, that it would take a really long time to hit climate targets and environmental targets that have been infringed upon, like all of us. So I would imagine the integrated approach is definitely a more positive step in the right direction. Can you maybe talk a bit about the HyLand project? Who's involved in that, how it works, and the different stages that are involved?
Yeah, it's actually part of the NIP, so the large funding program of the German government, and it's kind of a focus within the NIP. And we came up, since we also recognize that within the regions there is a different kinds of level of knowledge, and we said, okay, we want to like approach every level of knowledge. And then we came up with these three stages, starting with the high starters, the high experts, and the high performers. Those are like the different levels, and also have funding approaches for each individual stage, where we think this is what they need. And that's how we approach this in this three-stage approach, and maybe we can talk about the several stages.
So in terms of the high starter, if you can talk about who has been involved in that in terms of the regions, like how many cities have been involved, and also a little bit of where that's at in terms of the stage right now. I know that it began about a year ago and it closed. So what have you seen in terms of the results so far of those that have applied?
Yeah, we started we asked the regions to come up with expression of interest for the high starters in December. And that was closed end of February, and we were amazed of the feedback. We had 138 cities and regions really expressing their interest in being a high starter. Yeah, we were amazed by that large number because so far, of course, we see Hamburg as a hydrogen fuel cell lighthouse, some regions in North Rhine-Westphalia. But we were really amazed that now 138 regions really expressed their interest. So this is closed now. We have 138 applications. What do we want to do with these 138 municipalities and regional authorities? We will contract, as the Ministry of Transport and NOW, we will contract a consortium of consultants that will, at the end, take 9 regions by the hand and build up a regional stakeholder dialogue at first. So who you need to talk with is industry in your region, who are the operators in your region, what is really like the theoretical potential in your region. That's the goal. So is there a potential in your region? Should you go for it? Is there a potential benefit? And our challenge, of course, is now making 9 out of 138. The good thing is that these 138 are really on a city level, not on a larger regional scale. So one first idea is really to cluster regionally active cities and municipalities to larger regions to already reduce the number in the first step, and then we also preparing for those not making it into the 9. We are preparing a package for them with regional workshops, for example, where we try to keep them on board and try to help them through the next, let's say, 1 or 2 years until the next high starters call will be issued. Because the idea, of course, is we start the 3 stages now simultaneously, because we said in the first step we need to get all on board. But the idea is, of course, that we later have the high starters maybe in 5 years as the high performers. That's the idea, so that they can develop through the stages and that we have continuous calls throughout the program so that the high starters of today can be the high performers of 2025.
And when we talk about high performers, that's more of the economic valuation. So there's more feasibility studies that are being done. Can you maybe talk a little bit to the audience of who specifically is going to be involved in that process and how that works?
We are currently preparing the call for the high experts and the high performers. The documents are more or less ready. Our goal is really to clarify the whole funding framework beforehand, before we issue the call, so that we really can give reliable information on how the funding will work in the regions. And therefore, it will last another few weeks until we issue that call for high experts and high performers. We will, in the high experts, or as jury, will in the end select 5 regions. The funding or the funding money will in the end go to the regional authority. So the regional authority needs to apply, and then they get 250,000 euros roughly for more detailed analysis. So that could be economical analysis. This could be another feasibility study regards to a certain application. So it really means in-depth technical and economical evaluation. And the high performers, in the end, they are really ready. They have all analysis in place, technical, economically. They are sure that they in the mid or long term can earn money with like the concept and green hydrogen in their region. So they come up with this analysis, and of course, and again with a shopping list, let's say, saying, okay, we need 20 buses, we need 100 cars, and 3 refueling stations, and 2 electrolyzers. And they have the investors in place, and then they get the investment subsidy out of the NIP funding pot.
Wow, it's a really big project.
And that will be, in the end, this will be one. That's the goal, is that that will be one region, and we at the moment plan with 20 million euros for that one region.
Wow. In terms of the supplier side, especially during the high performer stage, because they will have gone through a feasibility study, they will have gone through a shopping list in terms of determining what they need for their regional district in terms of buses, and cars, and stations, and so on. From the supplier side, what are the opportunities for some of the companies here on the supplier side to get involved if they wanted to meet with any of these consultants or be a part of these discussions once this is at the high performer stage? How do they get involved, and what can they do?
That's different, I think, through the 3 stages. So with regards to the high starters, the consortium we collected there, or we like selected, and we are just in the finalizing of the contracts with this consultants consortium. They are quite knowledgeable, so they are really, they have a huge network also in the hydrogen and fuel cell arena, so they know how you build up this network. For the high experts and the high performers, as I said, in the high performance industry is already involved, so the players are more or less fixed. For the high experts, really watch out on like our also workshops and conferences we will do throughout the next years. We will do, as I said, regional workshops where we of course need to connect the regions and the industry. We will have publications, paper publications, of course. Yeah, just issue our newsletter at NOW, at our NOW homepage. Subscribe our newsletter, and then you can follow the latest news on that. Yeah.
Great. So as mentioned, go to their booth, B59, if you want to get involved. And again, go to the NOW website. There is an online application form that will eventually be launched. But when you want to know and be notified about that date, please subscribe to their newsletter and be the first to be aware of when that is going to be public.
Right. Besides of the newsletter, where you really get the latest news out of the clean transport arena, we also have a possibility to have a funding news you can tick, and then you really, when, for example, a high experts and high performer call comes out, you get it instantaneously. As we push the green button, you get an email that the call is now open. Really take that chance and subscribe to that.
Great. I'm going to open it up to the floor. Does anyone in the audience have any questions at all for NOW and the HyLand project? No. Okay, well, that's okay. Please go visit their booth, B59. They're right over to the right here. And Thorsten will be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.